When AI is around the corner, many people ask me, is AI going to take my job? And as I for a way too long time now said, okay, I'm not going to make a single episode only dealing with is AI going to take your job? It's now the time to talk about is AI taking your job? I got my AI education, that's very important to say, because the speed of light might be really quick, but not as quick as people today think they're experts in AI. I got my AI qualification from the University of Pennsylvania, Wharton Business School, Vanderbilt University, so not the worst universities. So I think I reasonably know what I'm talking about when I talk about AI. And also today, I will talk about, is AI going to take your job? Who is going to be exposed in or to which extent? And of course, we're going to talk about what are the sources confirming my views here and confirming my points. So you don't get an opinion, you get scientific evidence. Very important, I'm going to tell you and show you real world sources here. Very important, under fair dealing, fair use in the UK and the US, I'm allowed to do so. And in German, Zitierrecht, quotation rights, I'm allowed to show you these kind of sources. So is AI going to take your job? There's quite a number of people out there who say, I'm reasonably worried that my job in the future is not going to be there at all, or not in the same way, to the same extent as I have it right now. And of course, we need to address that. When we talk about is AI going to take away your job, it is a multifaceted aspect. There is no simple yes or no. So when you have someone who only gives you a one-word answer, very clearly that person does not have a clue. So what is the situation? The situation is there is going to be an exposure, and the exposure is scientifically proven. Roughly, according to the International Monetary Fund, roughly 60% of jobs will be exposed to any kind of change, not threat, not deletion, not extinction, any kind of exposure towards AI, which already means 40%. Almost half of all jobs will have little to no exposure to AI, at least to AI as we know it as of yet, because that technology, of course, is evolving rapidly. Very heavily affected of it is information work. And when now people say, well, Niels, isn't information work exactly what you do? Yes, it is what I do. However, I'm not worried about AI for a simple reason. You will know at the end of this episode why I'm not worried about what AI is going to do to my job. The most important point here, however, immediately is when we look into the next publication, which is Science Magazine. I know when you hear Science Magazine where you think, that's boring already in the title, isn't it? No, science isn't boring. It's important. Not everyone's cup of tea, I agree, but that's why we're here, so you get the gist of it and you get the shortcut. So Science Magazine says there's a boost over replace. Boost over replace means when you do AI correctly, things are going to become smoother, quicker, because let's face it, how is work today? Staffing levels, no matter where you go, and I do not even talk about between social enterprises or organizations of free enterprise. Anywhere where you are, they always say, we do not have enough staff. As soon as anyone calls in sick, only for a couple of hours or half a day, we immediately have a backlog of work. So the boost over replace means with AI, we can get back to the level of not pushing a tremendous amount of overhours, which depending on in which country you work and what the regulation says, either you have to pay it to your employees. In Switzerland, for example, with up to 25% more payment or even more, depending on the agreement you have, or you have to give them time off. And the time off, of course, immediately causes the issue of someone not being to be there to do the work, and then others complaining. And when you stress everyone out, people will call in sick sooner or later, or they become very ill for a long time. So the boost over replace is a good aspect. The question always is, who are the people who are worried the most? Because as a leader, you have to know. Which are the jobs that are affected the most. And when we look into Pew Research, and Pew Research did research on this, especially in the so-called working class, about half of the people there, 52% of all workers, according to Pew Research, are worried about what happens to their job with AI. And very important, step number one here as a leader, when you now come along with your, quadruple PhD from Harvard, Princeton, Yale, which hopefully you worked hard for, and I assume you did. This is not judging you on education. Education is great. But when you come from a privileged position and you tell people, change is always positive. You have to see the positives here. Hear the news. People are not waiting. People who could just get fired from their jobs or they are afraid of being fired, they're not waiting for a motivational quote. And they're especially not waiting for your motivational quote. So be aware that as soon as you do that, many people will turn away from you. 52%, every other worker in the workplace is worried about what does the future hold regarding AI. And the fear is not about losing the job itself, but the fear is about losing what they call in the US the long-running jobs, where you can stay with a certain company for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, peace of mind, you do your work, and you're just a happy person doing it. And that is something where this job safety and security, the feeling is this is going to be affected. The question is which roles might be affected. And there are certain roles which run a higher risk. Higher risk does not mean that these jobs go extinct by tomorrow, but due to automation, because the task is probably repetitive, it is predictable. So basically, it pretty much means that any kind of algorithm is just quicker doing it than a human being is. And usually algorithms don't call in sick, which is another issue where, of course, humans think maybe this job is going to be gone. And these jobs are admin, number one, anything which is repetitive admin, support jobs, which are often repetitive, even junior analyst jobs are there, and any kind of routines. And that all is based on the publication Science Magazine again. So admin support, junior analysts, not analysis, junior analysts. And routines are the ones which are going to be replaced the quickest. And replaced does not mean they are gone, but probably not as many will be rehired as there were before, because now you have technology. The question is, what do you do now when you say, hey, I think in our organization this is going to affect quite a number of people. What should I do as a leader? Let's talk about the implementation, because in this podcast, we do not only want to talk about what is probably not going too well, we always want to talk about what is going better when we act the right way. So, of course, you have to ensure some people that their job might not be affected. And there are certain jobs, according to science as we know it today, as of yet, certain jobs will be affected less. And these are jobs which are especially physical, relational, and high accountability. And I give you a very important aspect here. So physical means any kind of physical work. When you, for example, say care work can be done by robots. Well, try to do that. Try to get robots in the workplace. And then you need one thing to run this care home. It's called insurance. Try to get an insurance when you say, these robots I just purchased off the market and they are going to deal with humans. And then the insurance is going to say, how are we sure that they are not going to break their bones next day? Well, here we are. So this is still quite some way ago. Physical can be helped with AI and robotics, but usually it's not going to be replaced. So physical jobs are still, especially when you create something which is tailored, physical jobs are extremely important there and less exposed to AI. Support, yes, but replacement, no. Relational job. I give you a very simple example. If you're going to buy a house, if you're going to buy an expensive car, if you're going to buy an expensive plane ticket, and anything where you need a higher level of trust, you're implementing a new software. Are you going to buy the software from another human being who you can hold accountable, or are you going to buy from an algorithm? And some people say, well, most likely I'm going to buy it from a human being, especially when you have a higher investment, you meet in person, you want to know who the person is, you want to gain trust. The relational jobs, sales jobs, marketing jobs, especially sales jobs, are the ones who are affected less. And the difference between high accountability and low accountability is how quickly can you fix the error? I give you a very simple example. Let's say you you support your pizza workers who create pizzas by a robotic arm who simply can put the toppings on the pizza way quicker than any human being could ever do. So the humans are going to create the dough, and then someone's rolling it out, and then a robotic arm is going to just put the toppings on there. And when this robot arm does things wrong, the error can be handled pretty quickly. A customer is going to complain, so you give them either a new pizza, a coupon, a free drink, or all of the three, all of the above. So quite quickly it can be done that you say, hey, we saw the error, we fix it, everything's going to be fine from here. Customer happy, we are happy, it's all good, and we fix the error. When you, for example, as it happened with one of my client organizations in a project where I have not been involved, they decided that the AI data is going to decide how do they shape the districts in the future where their salespeople go. And after 3 months, they wonder why all the numbers went down. And then someone manually checked by coincidence, without getting the task to do so, they just decided by themselves. They checked the data and found out that the AI was hallucinating. And by the way, the AI is hallucinating about 1/10 of what humans are hallucinating. This is a high accountability job, so you cannot catch the error quickly. Redesigning, reshaping districts for a whole sales organization is tremendously expensive, tremendous amounts of effort. People probably have to be removed or relocated because now you have different travel routes. Some people will leave on their own will. Some people say it's not interesting anymore. You need to hire new people. They might not be interested. The whole thing starts from scratch, basically. So the high accountability jobs will be affected less. And by the way, I can tell you, even some low accountability jobs do not simply work because they are relational. I give you a very simple example. I listen to electronic music. And I do so since I'm 14 years old. So I go clubbing, yes, at my age. So when I go clubbing, at one club, they had a robotics arm which served drinks. And the robotics arm was way quicker than any barkeeper in that location. So I ordered with the robotics arm. The most absurd thing I was asked, if I want to tip, do I want to tip a robotics arm? No. Why should I? Tip goes to, I don't know, the IT department? I have no idea. So the robotics arm was way quicker. However, it's just not the same. You have a barkeeper who knows what you like, bit of chit chat, smiling, having a nice evening, wishing you a nice evening. You just bond with people in different ways when you have a human being around. So after having 2 drinks, getting my amazing Coke Zero from a robotics arm, I went back to the barkeeper, who, by the way, I tipped, as I always do. When I go, for example, in London to XOYO, a Coke Zero is £5, and I tip £1, so it's £6, just to give you a simple example. Or when I go to Heaven in central London, where Coke Zero is £4, I tip £1, so it's £5. Here you are, £1 a drink, or 10%. I always do one of the two. So when it's relational, physical, high accountability, people will have less exposure. Support, great, but it's not going to be that they simply say, okay, all of these jobs are going to be massively affected. No, that's not the case. Physical, relational, high accountability, tell them immediately. And of course, who are the people who are not afraid of AI? These are the people who actually use it. I have clients who in their workforce have workers in the so-called working class who are not afraid of AI. Why not? Because they were professionally trained to use AI. They see it as a chance. They see it as an enhancement. They see it as a tool to get less stress into the workplace and simply have a better job. And on top of all of that, that is an important mantra you have to live by. You need to qualify your people to actually do the job properly. Qualify, 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 because you want to enhance, not replace. And I give you 2 examples, one of how to do it, one of how to not do it. Let's say you have someone like one of my clients where they say, hey, we have a reasonably overage staff level, and we are going to see when someone goes for retirement if we replace them or if AI can take over. And within 1 year, 17 people retired at the regional large organization. And out of 17 jobs, they rehired 13. 13 out of 17 were rehired. The other 4 were not necessary anymore because AI could help out. And by the way, these 13 can now do their jobs without the tremendous amount of overhours, which is also a positive thing. So anyone said, okay, look, no one's going to be fired. It's all cool. And replacing, because anyone said, look, we have a couple of jobs which were simply there because these people were just there for a long time. Today, no one would create such a role. People just said, look, you have 2 years to retirement and we just give you the time. So have a happy retirement and then we take it from there. In another company where they are not client of mine, they said that, yeah, we have someone who's going to retire in 2 years' time, but we're not going to wait. We give them a golden handshake and chuck them out. That was one person being chucked out with a golden handshake. So no financial suffering, just making them leave the company by golden handshake. Immediately, the rumor got across in the workforce, they are going to replace people due to AI. A 2-digit amount of people quit their jobs within 1 month, most of them working in production, who said, I am going to go to other companies where I'm valued and appreciated more. And then all of these so-called savings by getting rid of someone 2 years early, and of course you paid them, so the saving isn't that much, all of that had to be spent double, triple, quadruple, quintuple on recruiting, employer branding, and whatnot else to actually get hold of the damage they produced. So be aware that you need to enhance and not replace. And if you then do it the way, fully qualified with a great work staff and amazing communication, when you do it that way in your organization, then everything will go right with your AI approach and your implementation of AI, because AI is going to enhance your job. It's not going to take your job away. I wish you all the best implementing this in your organization. And when you now say, I think I have about 28 questions about that, very happy to chat with you. So first, of course, when you're now watching me on YouTube, one thing I have to say a genuine thank you, because we just got the numbers in from 2025, how the podcast did internationally, globally. And we posted about that on LinkedIn just on Monday morning. And I was absolutely astonished how it went in the most positive way. We had top 300 in the US as a non-native speaker, top 50 in the UK, top 100 in the German-speaking market during the whole year, basically. Luxembourg, I think the top 5, Malta #1. We had multiple #1 rankings during the year. So it's absolutely amazing how many rankings we received during the year. Thank you very much for supporting this podcast and videocast. I hope you will support us for a long time in the future. I put a tremendous amount of work in this for the last 5 years. It's now running for 6 years, and I'm very rigid, very rigorous on selecting the guests. So thank you very much for appreciating what I do here. It's really, really appreciated. So when you now like this video cast, when you're watching on YouTube, please leave a like here and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment here. Thank you very much for all support. When you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave a review there, 5 stars. Thank you very much for that. Recommend the podcast and video cast amongst friends, colleagues, anywhere you like, online and offline. Social media, wherever you like. And of course, we are back on the YouTube Shorts. They were a tremendous success. We now put a lot of work into YouTube Shorts. So it really pays off to not only subscribe to the YouTube channel, but also to put the little bell on there so you never miss a new episode. And of course, you can also follow me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I'll go to my website, nb-networks.biz, so you see what I do for a living and what I'm available for regarding AI and other leadership and soft skill topics. And of course, there are often quite a number of people who say, well, these are corporate issues and companies, I can't put them in the comment section on YouTube. Yeah, feel free to email me, nb@nb-networks.com. I'm always looking forward to hearing from you. If you need something very specific, you need training, speaking, coaching, consulting, mentoring, project interim management, or a speaker for your conference, just let me know. If you just want to have a chat, happy to do that as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you. If you want to have live sessions, we have live sessions as well. When you go to expert.nb-networks.com, you can put your email address in there. You only receive one email every Wednesday morning where you get full access to all the episodes, the video cast, the podcast in the English and German language, way more than 400 episodes out there, an internationally well-ranking podcast and videocast. So thank you very much for supporting me here. Really, really appreciate it. And of course, go on LinkedIn, connect with me there. Don't do the follow thing. Connect with me properly. You can follow me on Instagram if you like, or you just like me on Facebook, or you subscribe to my channel on YouTube, or you do all of the 4, which probably would be best. Thank you very much for doing so. The most important thing, however, is always the last thing that I say: apply what you heard in this podcast, because only when you apply what you heard, you will see the positive changes that you obviously want to see. And when you now want to go into more depth with all the sources, here are all the sources. So when you now say, hey, I want to read the full article, here are the full articles. Just stop the video here if you just want to take a note, and then you can get to the articles and read everything I talk about. I now wish you all the best implementing this in your organization. Get in touch with me. I answer any message within 24 hours or less. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And at the end of this podcast, as well as at the end of this video cast, there's always one thing left for me to say. Thank you very much for your time.